The Maples Pavilion, we're inside this wonderful arena full of phenomenal performances by athletes of all different sports. And today we have the chance to see some great performances from men's volleyball here between the BYU Cougars, number 7 in the country, versus the number 20 Stanford Cardinal. Alongside Max Agress, I'm Jordan Watkins. And Max, we are very fortunate, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers are as well, where this is the second time this weekend we get to see this matchup after the great performance and the great competition we saw from these two teams just a night ago.
Oh, man, that one went down to the wire in almost every single set. I can tell BYU is going to come out swinging hungry early, and Stanford's going to try to set the pace as well.
And it looks like it will be BYU setting the pace as they will take the first point. If you were with us a night ago, the starters are the same. As you see, Tyler Herget starting off serving for the Cougars. He will be joined by Trent Mosier at 16 kills a night ago. Connor Oldani in front as well. Talon Jonathan Tafunga. The big man in the middle, A.J. Cottle. And there he is right on cue. That's what we really expected him to do going into last night, but he was such a big offensive presence as well for BYU.
Oh, 100%. This team is ranked number 8 in the NCAA in blocks per set. Jalen Cottle said, hey, I know I can go up there and get some blocks. Went up and had 15 kills on 17 swings, hitting 882. That is a big adjustment that Stanford's going to need to make this evening.
And in case you were curious, that's a very good number, 882. Here comes Stanford now on the attack, and Moses Wagner, he was the big-time offensive player, the team high this season, 20 kills a night ago for Stanford.
And it's not even just 20 kills. It's 20 kills on 457 hitting percentage, pairing alongside 4 blocks and 3 digs. He was electric.
On that team, they're doing so many different things, and there's an ace one yesterday and already matches that total tonight.
Man, aces were such a big defining factor for Stanford. 8 aces to the 2 of BYU, and those aces came in huge moments.
Yeah, Stanford came in averaging just about an ace and a half or so per set, and they get to right here. This is exactly how they started it off.
Jacob Little-Phillips is on that back line. He is a scary server.
3 serving 2. That one goes in the net. And again, if you're going to have a service error, you want to make sure you string some points together. You'll take the 2 service aces if it leads to 1.
Net positive, keep things tied up. That's where you want to be. Former All-American in the high school ranks. Showing off what he's got there. Now let's see if he can get something within system.
And now here is the person responsible for both service aces that BYU had last night in Tafunga. And there's the kill for Stanford. Alex Rotman had such a big presence in the first few sets for Stanford. Again, you wouldn't see it in the box score per se, but a lot of times they need that big-time score, that big-time play. Rotman was there on the end of it.
Yeah, numbers ain't sexy. 7 kills, 20 swings, 5 errors, hitting 100. But yes, the presence was there.
Now on the serve, BYU going at it. Stanford defense was there. Now here come the Cougars once again. Joust at the net. Pancake not there. And it looks like if you were asking Jacob Little-Phillips, he thought otherwise, but it's going to be a point BYU.
Trent Mosier is so physical from that near side pin. Went up through the triple block in the joust. We saw him do it yesterday, but when 6 arms can't send away your 2, you got some linear strength right there.
So someone's been in the weight room is what you're saying. Serve goes a little too far from Cottle. Service error point for Stanford. 20 service errors in the match yesterday for BYU, 21 for Stanford. But again, when you look at that ace count, right, that 8-2, 21-20, you'll take that if you're Stanford. You're being aggressive while also still getting those points.
That's the nature of men's volleyball in a nutshell right there. I don't know the official number, but it feels like about 30% of the points will come off just aggressive service. And when you have the athleticism and the ability that these guys have, why wouldn't you? That's the nature of the game, and that's one of the huge differences you see between the women's and the men's game.
There's Connor Oldani on the serve. And relatively quiet night for him a night ago, but there's Stanford in the middle. Kamana Carrera with a point for Stanford as they have the 6-5 lead here in set 1.
Yeah, Danny's part of that big 3 that really sets the tone offensively, but had a struggling night yesterday. 4 kills hitting negative percentages.
going to be one of the big storylines for BYU tonight, and it's how he responds. But in the meantime, you'll just keep riding the hot hand of Trent Mosier. Another point for BYU.
Yeah, and this is the trend we've been seeing. Nobody can get any sort of momentum. The moment a team gets 2 points, a huge answer on the other side. I feel like that trend is going to continue this evening.
That was the big thing last night. You talk about the 2 points. A lot of it was even when a team got 3. Usually that's kind of like that big death sentence, if you will, in a set for a certain team. But there was always an answer, whether it started because of a timeout or the other team was just able to start stringing some points together.
And Nate Clinton going to the line right now. He's been so huge defensively. This is only his 5th game of the year back, and he has been immense.
Injuries have been the story of the season for Stanford. A dig there by Wagner. Free ball coming for BYU. Big swing. Was there a touch at the line? No.
Yeah, they're going to call that one a touch on the block for Stanford. A lot of challenges used early in that third set. Nobody wants to burn one this early.
Back to that point you were talking about with Nate Clinton. A lot of injuries have been the story for Stanford's season. A lot of different lineups, a lot of combinations. Even these last 2 matches, no Teo Snooey for Stanford. So they're finding ways to get things done, but to that point, that's the reason why last night feels so monumental for Stanford, how they're finding a way to get things done.
Yeah, we've tried so many different lineups tonight, we as in Stanford, pardon me. But you've just seen young bucks come in, you've seen older guys come in, some redshirt juniors, some seniors. Everybody's getting involved.
And Aletzer leaves to an ace.
That's where you want to be for Carrera. Going up, he doesn't have the hardest serve, but when you're really just trying to pin that tape, really just letting it get over, anything can happen.
9 serving 7 now, set 1. And on the second hit, heads up play, Tyler Herget.
Herget tried to get a couple of those last night, had one going on 2 and had another where it was just left up in the air and he went down with authority. But when he can get going, so many different factors, it's almost like you got 2 liberos on the floor when Herget is out there.
A night ago for Herget, 46 assists. And a missed swing right there in the middle. We saw such a good job by Luke McFall in the middle. And sometimes, as we talked about, you might get the missed swing and the missed hit. It still pays off for you.
When you got the levers like Luke McFall has, sometimes the follow through with the elbow looking like some Muay Thai into the air.
It's 750 yesterday of those 9 kills. That's a team best this year, the minimum 10 attempts. As that goes out of bounds, point for Stanford. Attack error there to BYU.
It's going to be interesting to see if Tafunga can continue to carry the load. He was such a big piece on the outside, paired alongside Cottle right there in the middle.
Jacob Little Phillips. And he also was in that ace category yesterday, 47 assists, so that's going to go into the net.
And as Little Phillips keeps developing throughout his time here at Stanford, he is going to be such a big threat when he's on that back line with that drop serve and that top spin that he possesses, as well as obviously what he can do as a setter.
Speaking of top spin, here's Tafunga now serving for BYU. Rotman receives it, setting up for Wagner, cuts it across. That's going to go out of bounds. Point Stanford.
Jackson Fife was right there, though, and that does really show off the adjustments that BYU is making. Those cut shots were open early and often for Stanford, and that's part of the reason they were able to get that advantage and continue to pass it. But Fife getting the read there.
And Stanford really used that shot to their advantage, especially in sets 2 and 3 last night. That's going to go over in 1. Here comes now BYU back in play. Dug out, very nicely done by Evan Porter. Longest volley we've had so far, and BYU says they've had enough of that as Connor Aldani comes into the party.
Long rallies went the way of the card yesterday. The early trend flipping that piece. Evan Porter, want to shout out what he was able to do. 16 digs, man. A monumental number for one of the top leaders in the MPSF in that category. Service
goes into the net. 13-10 for Stanford. You talk about that big performance. And it was, I'd love to say by committee, but of course it was such a big discrepancy with what Evan Porter did compared to everyone else. But you saw a lot of people on that back line for Stanford really contributing to that defensive end.
100%.
Overpass for BYU sets up Stanford perfectly. And right there is Nate Clinton, another point for the Cardinal.
Stanford, the first team to carry a little momentum going forward. Now you see this 4-point advantage on a little run.
A reminder, Stanford won that first set last night by 4, 25-21. And now here comes BYU in system, net up at the net. They'll regroup, reset, fire again, and this time, good luck trying to deny him twice. It's Trent Mosier for the Cougars.
The tempo that BYU plays that almost puts you to sleep at times. You feel like, oh, that ball's coming back over. They're going to take their time, and nope, immediately just a laser of a set right there to a big swinging kill.
Rotman receives for Stanford. Big swing Clinton. Dug up by Fife. Mosier again. Point for BYU. No lead is too big for these Cougars.
Nobody can really get on a flow, and also I want to see the energy. The bench told a lot of the story yesterday, which is how excited they were getting on top of Mosier. When he's going Super Saiyan out there, he really starts to carry his team.
Doesn't it feel like already, just even early on, there's a lot more energy from BYU than there was in set one yesterday?
Fans are bringing as well. They were a little quiet early on, but the fan grouping is about 30% BYU once again, but they are so loud and proud tonight.
Another point for the Cougars. They're going on a run now. That's 3 straight points for them. We'll see if Stanford has an answer. In the middle, Carrera, no. Mosier again, point BYU. They tie it up at 14.
A 3-0 run by Stanford, now a 4-0 run from BYU. Just a huge shot, and the velocity of that ball comes down at, and the backspin on top of it gets caught up right in your gut.
2 of the last 3 points now scored by Mosier for BYU. Stanford looking for an answer. That's still alive. Clinton the swing, and he will defeat the timeout, trying to ice Stanford. And here they are in the attack. Rotman letting out the primal scream after the kill.
That's something that Stanford really didn't do too much of in the last matchup. Faking that flare with your middle blocker and then sending that back row attack. It was very much so linear when you were going back row attack. There was nobody really faking it out. And that fake from Carrera throwing off the defense just a slight bit, and that is all you need.
We saw how successful that middle attack was for Stanford a night ago. It'd be a big part of it. As here they are back on the attack again, setting up Rotman. Rolls it over, BYU back line ready. Tafunga finding room, point BYU.
Just a sniper from that sky spot alongside the near pin. Finding that corner, everything split open. And when you're giving a lane for Tafunga, he will punish you.
And 3rd on the team last night with kills. He had 14, hitting .345.
He was that guy you went to anytime you needed a point. It's harder to set up your middles in those situations, but when you can throw it to the pin, Tafunga has really shown pay dirt.
Rotman dug out, BYU on the back line. There's Stanford now defensively. In the middle, we talked about him so much a night ago. A.J. Cottle in the middle for BYU.
And that play is all set up by Herget. Herget saw the block come up, but understood with that nonverbal communication with Tafunga, hey, just recycle it. And immediately once that happened, Cottle went up there. You saw his ears perk up, and just a golden opportunity.
It's almost like you see those eyes just open so wide. You know it's going to come his way. Rotman on the swing. BYU scrambling. Free ball Stanford. Rotman again. And he was met. Tafunga. Back and forth we go. Rotman, 3rd time's the charm.
A big roar from that Maples crowd here. Rotman showing his bag on that. Just going up with power, going up with finesse, and then showing off that cut shot to finish it off.
Whatever it takes, right?
Oh, absolutely. This has been an adjustment Stanford's been making, bringing Ferriet in as a service specialist.
In the middle again, there's Cottle. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Stanford's got to do something. Connell's going up there, and he's just given plenty of angles. He can go up, go down the line, go side to side. They're going to need to start to bring a blocker right in front of him, like we saw at the end of that third set, or the beginning, I should say.
Yeah, we did see it took Stanford a minute yesterday to make that adjustment and really challenge the middle. Of course, you understand it with all the respect you have to pay to these outside hitters and attackers for BYU. As here comes Stanford now back on the attack. They're going to go to Rotman again. He finds room on that back line.
Rotman, man, just rocking Maples Pavilion, showing off his arsenal of attacks. And they are force-feeding that far pin right now. They like the matchup.
4 kills in set number 1 for Alex Rotman. There's Jacob Little-Phillips. Serves it into the net.
We're in this no man's land in terms of points. Everybody's just trading back and forth. So let's see if this Maples Pavilion energy can carry the Cardinal forward.
We didn't need Sandstorm again.
Oh.
Since they cut it off short
Yes.
yesterday. Here's Tafonga goes wide.
I'm going to run over there during the timeout break, and I'm going to make a request.
You're going to plug your phone in and just take it all over yourself?
Hey, whatever gets it done. I am a team player, okay? I'll wear many hats. If I need to go DJ, I'll go DJ.
And he can pass. I hope y'all know that reference. 19-19 here in set number 1. As Ryan DuRoss. And now to serve for Stanford. That serve almost found some room. Herget, though, very alert to it. Roll shot, finds room in the middle of the floor. Nice shot there by Trent Mosier.
Patience on display. Stay frosty, my friends. It doesn't matter what you think. You got to be ready for any sort of play.
6 kills for him already. 16 last night in those 4 sets. And you look at that hit percentage, too, already. So much higher we was a night ago. 175 yesterday. So far, 750. And another point for BYU. Talk about this no man's land of the scoring just a couple of points ago. It seems like BYU is trying to navigate their way out of it. As we're going to get a timeout here from ready to go right about now. 21 serving 19 in set number 1. Clinton. BYU defense snuffs it out. Now they're going to load up. Oh, Danny, no. Stanford going to go with Moses Wagner. It's a good back and forth we have going right now. There's the block, and it finds room. Point Stanford.
Credit the energy of Lighthole in that back line. He did a full-out send, nose diving into the ground, and that sweat carried him forward about 5 more feet after the play. And because he sold out on that effort, it allowed the other side of the floor to open up. So a great read offensively by Stanford by seeing that and capitalizing on the open space.
Now Carson Kneisel comes in to serve. 20 serving 21. Big swing, finds room, back corner.
I don't understand how you can hit that ball that hard and still keep it within play. The dimensions of the court are the same between the women's and men's game. The net is a little bit higher, but man, just with the velocity that they're doing, those angles that they're showing off, so impressive.
On 9 attempts, hitting 556 to get things going for the Cougars.
Sorry, I got to close out that last point because it's still looming on my mind.
Sure.
I don't know if I have any eligibility left, but if you got a spot on the team, I'll go ahead. Put me only on field goal block, and I will promise you I'll at least get one.
Put me in, Coach. I'm ready to play. So has been both of these teams really in set number 1. And there's the defense right there. Carrera.
The athleticism of Carrera on display so many times throughout this season. But when Carrera goes up, he just levitates. At 6'8", he's able to just float, really, and then able to get up, hit that one Mississippi, and then on the downswing, came down with it.
Wagner into the net.
Such a big moment right there and a huge service error.
Now Trent Mosier and BYU looking to bounce back from the loss a night ago to Stanford. 3-1. And Safunga finding room in that back line. Once again, you talked about it. Having that precision, but also that force to find those open spots.
Bunch of defenders in front of you, but when you can pierce that arrow, you got quite a sniper on that arm.
BYU fans feeling it. Again, a good turnout for them. Stanford trying to keep this going. They cycle around again. There's Clinton finding room. Point Stanford.
Huge answer here on set.
The season in general, that's where you hope all cylinders are clicking. Clinton on the serve. Rolls it over. Here comes BYU with Tafunga. Dug out. Nicely done there by Wagner. Free ball, though, coming for the Cougars. Dug out again, Wagner. Back line, Clinton, no. Porter was there. Lot of action going, and Alex Rotman said that's enough of that.
Hear that crowd roar. Rotman really wanted it back. He wasn't able to get up in time for that first point, so it took him the second opportunity to go up, and we're going to see a challenge here in this situation. Must feel a little bit better when you're Stanford in that situation, and it pays.
Coach Olmstead for an extended period there, continuing to disagree with the call. Here's Clinton. And good serve. Here's BYU, and there's the middle once again, but this time
6 service errors to the 4 at BYU. And when you look at the point differential, that is the match. Or pardon me, the set.
Oh, it's the matchup to this point. Carrera on the serve for Stanford to start things off in the second set. And he will be the one to get the dig. And now Stanford with Moses Wagner starting things off. Point Stanford.
Really good setup offensively, just changing up the tempo, going that third speed, so a lot slower in regards to that for the setter and Herget. But man, who says middle blockers can't dig it out from the back line?
But again, that's another part too that shows you what happens for the Stanford team. So many people playing so many different positions just out of necessity. And how about someone playing the position of you shall not pass? Luke McFall in the middle, finally having an answer for that middle attack with A.J. Cottle.
We've been talking about how great this BYU block is, number 8 in the NCAA. But Stanford coming out playing some physical volleyball, 4 total blocks here to start us off.
And a little bit of rush there from Cottle on that end. It goes out of bounds.
He found the floor yesterday so many times, but there was a moment where that could possibly crack, and we're already seeing early he's not quite as on as he was yesterday.
But the other part of it, too, is Stanford's on him.
Yeah, absolutely, changing the angles. Even if you send that block out there and don't get it, you do force different angles.
And that one's going to find some room by the line for Cottle, point for BYU.
It's a game of inches, and that one just barely sneaking in.
But again, to your point, you saw it all of the match yesterday. The middle was just wide open for A.J. Cottle, and you see now he's got to go in those margins. A little bit more difficult of a shot, if you will. Wagner tried to roll one over, didn't get enough over the top. It goes out of bounds.
Yeah, you can see it on the face of Wagner in that situation. He is the hardest person on himself. He doesn't need anybody else to say anything. They need his teammates to pick him up here because you know how much he really just feels like he can put the team on his back, though.
Stanford with the first 3. BYU with the last 2. And a service error for BYU. We'll give it back to Stanford.
Sorry, I saw that tweet the other day and just Mercedes Lewis, I put that team on my back, though.
You never have to apologize to me for a Greg Jennings Madden reference.
Sorry, yes, Greg Jennings. Oh.
Here's Stanford on the serve. Cottle, the fake, and coming from the back line is Mosier with some force, point BYU.
I got to apologize for getting the name wrong in that situation, though. That indeed.
Oh, it's all good. See, this is where millennials, we help each other out. We know the references. We can help out one another.
I'm a sheep in wolf's clothing. 96, barely on that cusp.
Stanford on the tag and switch up midair by Clinton. Now back line again to Funga. Ball still in play. Good reflexes by Stanford to keep it alive. And then Mosier said he's had enough of it.
Porter does an amazing job keeping that ball alive, and Stanford an even better job to get that back over the net. But on the second recharge, man, I know Porter can cover some earth, but that one is nowhere to be found.
Tafunga will continue his service. A little too strong.
Tapping into the matrix once again is Nate Clinton. We saw him do this yesterday. His gauge and the ability coming off that serve to get out the way at the last possible moment has resulted in some huge plays and some momentum-killing plays for BYU.
That was something that was so important in the win yesterday for Stanford. Every time that back line decided to let the ball go, they were right. BYU, conversely, there were about 2 or 3 times where they wanted to let it go, but that ball found some room. And you look at some of the margins and what those sets were, that was huge.
Every single point matters when these two teams are just so closely related in terms of talent here.
Cottle on the serve. Wagner, big wind up, dug out by Cottle, but nobody there in the middle of the court to help him out. Point for Stanford.
And let's see if this momentum can carry forward. The bench completely saw that, and it was almost like they expected Cottle to not be able to get under it and get that dig. Everybody was just clearing out and just accepting defeat there. So if Stanford can punch a big point right here, it could really pay some dividends.
We're talking about Carrera in that first set, showing the digging ability off the back line. Now here comes Stanford again on the attack. Wagner, big swing. Herget was the one that was there to dig it out. Back and forth we go. Clinton met up front. And I believe we're going to have, was BYU into the net? I believe so.
Yes, exactly. BYU right into the net. They, once again, I think quit on the play ever so slightly early. They didn't expect Carrera to go up there and be able to get that play. And just a little bit of a sleep on the play was, I believe, old Donnie who got into that netting.
Again, Stanford bench being very alert. They were pointing to that right away. And a bit of a roll. There's no touch. As Mosier tried to find some room, he couldn't. Point will go to Stanford. And they've opened up a 3-point lead here in set 2.
A little bit of a run. We were talking about the crushing blow that last point would have been. And now Stanford on their first real nice run of the game.
McFall serving. Here's BYU. What's their answer? Wonderful dig by the shoulder of McFall. That helps to set up Clinton. BYU is ready for it. Now Wagner, nicely dug out by the BYU defense. There's the block. There's the point. Stanford rolling right now, and Maples is feeling it.
Man, what a great crowd and a great turnout. The lower bowl is nearly completely filled tonight, and they're loving this 4-0 run from the Cardinal.
Clinton, Wagner, and Carrera all there for the block for Stanford. 9 serving 5. Right now, as McFall continues the service. Good serve there. And that's going to miss. Out of bounds.
So you're telling me Stanford fans are educated. Who would have guessed?
You know, it's hard a concept to believe, I know. Well, one person educated in how to score in a volleyball court is Trent Mosier, as he does it there once again. Another kill for him. Give him 9 now on the afternoon.
There's a reason he's in the top 5 in kills per set. The way that ball is dished out to him and the ability to just get that down angle.
Back line, Alex Rotman. Point Stanford. Of course, if you are the Cardinal, you are very happy going point for point right now with a 5-point lead.
I was going to say, you'll take point for point at any point once you get that lead.
No question. Wagner on the serve. Rolls it over to that back line. Mosier. Took out of there by Stanford. And a little bit of an overpass as Clinton could not really do anything with it. That'll be a point for BYU.
That is what it's like to have a true freshman setter starting. Yes, he's got a lot of experience under his belt, but sometimes it's going to get just a little bit away from you.
And there's that first misread on the back line. Evan Porter let it go, and there was room along that back line. First ace of the match for BYU.
Huge moment here, and it's a different person getting an ace. Only his 10th on the year for Trent Mosier.
Went off the tape, but an overpass by Stanford gives it back to BYU. Tafunga tried to finesse it over that front line. Good job at the back of Stanford. That now overpass. Here comes the Cardinal attack again. Clinton cutting it across. Point Stanford.
They call it a cut shot for a reason. Just going for that next, swiping across the net. And a very heads-up play. You saw Clinton not given the opportunity last time, feeding right back to that big 2-8. And man, can Clinton fly.
4-point lead as Clinton now will be on the serve. And here comes BYU, but again, little bit of a inaccurate pass that had to switch up what Chambers, his plan of attack was going to be, and Stanford defensively was there for it.
Yeah, we haven't really seen too much of that junk volleyball played in this meeting between these two teams this year. But the times when you have seen a little bit of those awkward go up about, send it back and forth, joust type of situations, it has gone the way of the Cardinal as we get a service error there by Clinton.
Sends it wide. So now Chambers will be on the serve for BYU. And Chambers 2 kills and 2 attempts. Coming into the set, he had 1 kill on 2 attempts a night ago, as there's Rotman once again, and had a little bit of a look there for Tyler Herget too.
Yeah, and when you get those backline rotations with your middle blockers serving, you know they're a little bit weaker on that backline, so it gives you more opportunities. If you could squeeze it through the block, a lot less of a chance to get a possible dig back there.
Stanford so far seeming to be a lot more direct in their point of attack at the net. And as always, being very aggressive and direct as Connor Oldani gets another kill here for BYU.
Yeah, when you have a smaller stature team, one thing that you have to do is you got to employ tempo and pace, changing it up, going quickly, going slowly, showing some back row attacks. And that is how Stanford does have dominance in the offensive game. And then when you can add along the great receiving that we're seeing in those backlines with the blocking prowess, man, you've got a talented team.
Good serve by Herget. Rotman coming again. Defeated the block. The back line, though, was there for BYU. Tafunga will get the kill off the block, goes out of bounds.
You see Rotman go up with a two-handed slash. He just tries to push it and recycle it, but BYU is kind of aware when he goes up, a little bit of a different approach when he does that. So BYU letting up the block a little bit, and he lets the ball go over, and it really sets up that play.
11 serving 14. Herget serving a little too much on it. Got a little bit more of the palm on there than he would have wanted. You can kind of hear it off the serve, too.
3 service errors in that situation, and when Herget is in that back line, yes, it's great because you have 3 attackers up front, but it's almost like you have 2 liberos in because of his digging prowess. Coming into the weekend, he's leading the team in digs. When you got such a great libero and Fife, it's an insane number to see.
Stanford keeping it alive, and overhit on the second. Look at the reaction, though, by Stanford. Now BYU coming with it as the block attempt goes out of bounds. As McFall and I believe Wagner were over there for the Cardinal, but couldn't keep it in.
Yeah, when you go up with such strength, sometimes you leave that block up a little too long. You just allow them to tool off the block, and that's exactly what BYU was able to do there. Making those offensive adjustments, and let's see if they continue to try to use that finesse rather than powering through it.
A lot of helter-skelter going on in these first 2 sets between both these teams. Tafunga serving, goes over on one, and Cottle is going to deposit.
Evan Porter's going to want that one back. He saw the read was shifting back and just stumbled ever so slightly, wasn't able to get in that position. You were going point for point a minute go. And now Stanford still with the advantage, but you got to feel a little bit of the momentum carrying on to the team in blue.
Much better receive that time by Porter. And Cottle, is that going to be the point? Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's just a lift on McFall. McFall, for as efficient as he's been all year long, it's just how BYU for 2 years before going to BYU. Yeah. He knows the system. He knows what this Cougar squad is all about. So it's a quick insert, and there's a reason why he's one of the leaders in the teams in attacking.
Here we are out of the timeout. Moses Wagner's going to find some room. Defeats the block with old Danny in front of him.
Oh, Danny, check your teeth, man. That one went straight to the dome piece. You don't want to see any sort of dental work going. And the trend continues as well with the serves.
Right out of the timeout. Point Stanford, lead back up now to 2. They stop the BYU run. As DuRossin again to serve, goes into the net.
Oh, man, that's got to be such a gut blow for DuRossin in this situation. You take the lead, or you hold on to the lead. Now it's all tied up, and you're brought in for that specific reason, for your aggressive serving. And when you go over the net, you give yourself a chance, but when you just get an awkward angle and send it right into the netting, man, he's kicking himself.
Potential chance now for BYU to tie. And it will be Trevor Herget on the serve.
He's got a rocket serve.
Perfect timing. Nice placement there by Clinton. Felt that back line of BYU creeping up and went to go challenge it.
Yeah, Stanford had been going cut shot a lot of the evening, but in that situation, a good read there to go line. And able to build a little bit of a buffer back.
And now Carson Kneisel goes back to serve. Got a little bit of John Cena playing in here in Maples.
Oh, man, don't get me going. This time is now.
Oh, you and me both. Here's BYU. Once again, Mosier, he's been there all night.
Yeah, big adjustment. You saw a lot of power out of Mosier yesterday, but now he's going some more of that finesse and targeting those hands and those fingers rather than just trying to swing through them.
And just trying to win in the margins. Old Danny now back to serve. In the middle, Carrera.
Great tempo, great pace, highest percentage attack with that middle attack. Paying off. However, with BYU, they had a man in that situation, so good defensive read, just wasn't able to collect it.
3 kills now in 4 attempts for Carrera. So he and McFall kind of trading places in the middle, if you will, for Stanford from a night ago. 3. I know the sets don't show that, but we'll see what happens if that continues on throughout this match. Mosier, very well caught by Porter, but you don't get points for catches in volleyball. Point BYU.
It's always really interesting to see how guys set up their sets. Tyler Herget goes in the situation, almost lulls you to sleep because of the pacing. He explodes up quickly and then almost holds it for a quarter of a second before just shooting it away.
That's about the second or third time I've seen from him in the middle of this set, as there's the kill there by Carrera in the middle, where, to your point, because he goes up so quickly, you can almost start to think that he's going to go over on that second hit. It just throws you off defensively.
Absolutely. But the way to answer it is with an attack with your middle. Matched up right in front of Herget is Kamana Carrera, and he is having a great performance up to this point.
2017 roll serve by Clinton to Fonga. That was hit up by Porter. Stanford tried to keep it alive. Good hustle by Clinton.
Great hustle by Clinton, but at the end of the day, those are one of the things where it's hard to gauge, especially with how little volleyball he has played up to this point in the season. This is only his 5th match, and as he continues to get his beak wet going into some of the thick of the schedule, those type of plays are going to convert into bigger plays. And with Clinton on that back line, you have a great receiving lineup for Stanford.
Another good reception by Stanford. There's Rotman. And really started off this match on fire offensively. And it's going to go a little too far on the attack. Point again for the Cardinal.
And once again, energy is infectious, and the Stanford bench is lifting up their squad. It's easy to do when you're up ahead. Now can they continue that? So there's no chance for BYU to steal any of that thunder.
And one of the players that'll be helpful with that, Theron Briette, coming back in now to serve for Stanford. They lead 21-18.
Two-setter unit.
In the middle, again, there's the Stanford adjustment. Having someone in the middle ready for Cottle, which could not keep that block in bounds.
Yeah, when you swing with the power that Cottle has, if you catch contact, there's always a possibility that can just shoot out and go out of play. The block was there, a great read there, and an adjustment by McFall.
Tyler Herget again serving. Rotman, yes. Down the line, point Stanford.
Yes, yes, yes. Major success there. Slower tempo on the set, perfectly set up.
And Rotman, that first set and early second was really the tempo and tone setter for Stanford offensively. Now to 8 kills. Good serve there by the Cardinal, but here comes BYU. A little out of system, but they're going to get a chance to reset. Cottle, no. And Stanford making that adjustment from night 1 to night 2, and now they'll have a chance on the attack. Here comes Rotman again. Good back and forth we have going right now in set 2. Tafunga, roof down home. McFall and Rotman say no, sir.
Flex those muscles. Go ahead, show off them guns.
Stanford potentially 2 points away now from evening this up at a set apiece. Jacob Little-Phillips will serve. Good serve. Tafunga receives. Push shot goes too far.
Can't get too tricky.
And try to be a little cute there was Mosier trying to find the back line, and it's a little too strong, and now the Maples faithful on their feet as it's set point number 1 and set number 2 for Stanford, with Little-Phillips serving once again.
Been such a weapon from the back line this evening. And I jinxed it.
You can almost hear the communicative groan from this Maples crowd. Again, give them credit as they're still filling in very into this match. Tafunga serves. Stanford, Wagner, sent back. Cottle, Mosier, no sir. BYU stays alive.
And for BYU here, even though you are back against the wall, down 3 points with no opportunities left, having a little momentum carry into the third is a big trend. So if they can get a little bit of a run, even if Stanford does take this set, it will bolster them in the third.
That goes wide off the outside part of the hand. As a team, they have 8.5 blocks. We talked so much about what BYU does defensively as a blocking unit, but it's been Stanford so far.
Yeah, Stanford's come out and they play the more physical brand of volleyball, and that is not necessarily what we expect to see going forward. Averaging 2.2 blocks per cent in a usual situation, they have come out and they have been bullying the bully.
Zach Randolph did once say, where I come from, bullies get bullied. As that block attempt goes out of bounds, another kill for Alex Rotman as he continues to pace the way offensively for the Cardinal.
Man, we are throwing every reference out there right now. Some Zebo.
I have to show love for all my lefty post players that don't really jump. That's exactly my prototype. Back line, Herget. Went off the block from Stanford just past the reach of Nate Clinton. And we're even at 1.
I'll throw one for you right there. White man can jump. Right up there, flying through the sky. Trevor Herget from his brother Tyler Herget, and he can soar.
Overpass from Stanford by Rotman. And there's the middle. You see cut him across is Cottle. So now he's making his adjustment from last night. Not really attacking the middle as much. Trying to find those outsides and does so there.
Yeah, Cottle has been such a great influence into this matchup. If you look going into this weekend, only had 58 kills. Has 15 last set, has come out and been one of the main attackers for BYU tonight.
How about that from Moses Wagner, again, it doesn't look as impressive as some of the things that we've seen just from the blind eye. But again, he's getting ready to load up and attack. He's got to lay back on it because of the pass. Still has a perfect placement to get the kill.
Instead of going physical there, he went with finesse, and finesse can sometimes stand out, but in that situation, such a hard technique to go on the down drop of the ball.
Rotman finding room on the back line. Another ace for Stanford.
Coach is calling his team together. He's just going to make an adjustment. No challenge here, but the aces have been the biggest difference in this situation right now. Stanford getting 3 extra points from that line tonight.
They're 4th in this match. Back line, look out. Trent Mosier.
Careful when Trent Mosier gets going. We were talking about the bench's energy. When Mosier goes up and starts yelling and starts flexing, he gets his whole entire team involved.
To your point, he absolutely just soars and takes off when he's coming, especially when he's coming from that back line. Moses Wagner says, I can do a little bit of that too.
Tool in the block. We've seen that toolbox on display from a lot of different players tonight. High-level volleyball on the attack.
4 serving 3. McFall will serve for Stanford. Off the tape. Now here comes BYU again. That back line. Once again, it'll be Mosier.
McFall's serves have been a weapon in this matchup, but here, a great answer from the Cougs.
We're just going back and forth to start off set 3. All Danny serves. Rotman saw the decoy in the middle with Carrera, but BYU wasn't falling for it. Stanford again. Wagner heading our way. Point for the Cardinal.
The development of the Stanford unit to be able to get these clean receives and go within system has really just shown up since the St. Francis matchup. Or, pardon me, even going back to the University of Concordia Irvine matchup. It's been the biggest difference. When Stanford is able to get within system, you've seen such a unique and talented team as you get an ace there by Moses Wagner. But that has been why Stanford has been hitting some of these crazy numbers the last few games. It's because they just trust themselves and put on that communication to be able to get these receives.
Those aces continue to be a narrative this weekend, but that went a little too far. Well, BYU now will get it back.
And another big difference between these two teams serving right now, Stanford, a lot of that top spin really just getting that muster on the ball, whereas BYU is just setting heavy pressure.
Into the net goes Trevor Herget.
Yeah, it's a power versus a spin game, I should say.
And Clinton again going to serve.
Man, I can't wait till I see him fully healthy and just in full control of his commands there.
Yeah, even to that point, aren't we all just ready to see Stanford fully healthy and fully available?
I think everybody, man. It's a long season.
Yes.
And your health is your wealth. The reason I had to get out of athletics.
That's the reason why I'm on the other side of athletics now. Here comes the Cardinal on the attack. Moses Wagner sent back. Look at the reflexes by Stanford. Rotman will send it over. BYU now can set things up. Going with the finesse. Good hustle, Stanford. Wagner loads up, and it went a little too far.
Evan Porter got the cover, and Wagner just a couple misses here. He's kicking himself. He's getting reloaded, relocked in. And Stanford's going to need him to get back in because it is tied up 7 apiece.
And one of those situations where it felt like Stanford was trying to gain some momentum. BYU just had answer after answer for it. And you take a look at Jacob Little Phillips coming up and putting one down on the second hit.
11th kill of the year for Little Phillips. You usually see it on the dunk play when your setter goes up and hits, but right there, the hitting prowess, the power. Little Phillips has had a great week on in every facet, setting, blocking, digging, and now attacking.
47 assists, one off of his career high and his early part of his career steal. And now Stanford on the attack. Here's Rotman sent home. Cottle and Moser had something to say to the fans about it.
Yeah, and Stanford just a little bit of confusion there on who was going to make the attack. 3 guys jumped, and then Rotman was the only one that actually took off.
And I tell you what, Trent Moser is in a zone this afternoon.
Yeah, his domain has expanded.
McFall, what a dig to keep that alive by Fife. And BYU's rewarded. And now their crowd is the one to erupt here inside Maples.
Yeah, this is a little dangerous here. He's been turning our way and screaming in front of our faces. Now he turns the other direction. His fans get a taste of what he's putting on the table. And even though Maples has been locked in and roaring for their squad, the 30% of BYU fans in here, man, they are getting a show, and let's see if their energy can start to become infectious.
And a phenomenal dig to set that all up by Jackson Fife. This is the part where BYU, they like to try to take control, as they'll have a free ball here. They're in a groove now, so is Trent Moser.
Yeah, I think John Costy's got to take a timeout very soon. 3 points back-to-back, a run built off the arms of Trent Moser.
Offensively and defensively.
Hence the plural.
10 serving 8. Herget sends it over. Back line, Clinton. Good reaction there from BYU and Moser. Now he's going to get another swing at it, and he gets another point.
You go power, power, power. You're going to have to find some more offense from different pieces because he has been one of those huge forces offensively.
That's all 1 or 2 members of the BYU staff going over just to check in on him. Seemed like he was okay, but of course we'll keep monitor of that situation. All the while, there is Alex Rotman coming out of the timeout, getting the kill for Stanford.
Rotman had led us up to this point in the matchup, but the last few times Stanford has gone up, they haven't gone his direction with a clean look. Now Rotman second in the matchup with 10 kills.
Well, it's huge for Stanford there to end that BYU run. Cottle in the middle. Now on the overpass, no. Stanford, good reflexes. Now BYU back at him. Cottle finds room, cutting it across.
You're not going to coddle that guy inside. You go a couple different times to coddle, and you know what? If you give him 3 swings, I can almost guarantee you he'll get you a point.
Third time's a charm, am I right?
Seen it on both sides of the net now. Or on both teams, I should say, because they were both on this side of the net.
It's one of the only things that Moser's done wrong here tonight. He puts that one into the net.
Yeah, he leads the team in service errors. Got his 10th ace, but well upwards of 55 service errors on the season.
So now Alex Rotman, Stanford now going to try to look to piece some points together. BYU trying to get closer and closer to really controlling this third set. Good dig there. A little Phillips. And Stanford sends it over, free ball for the Cougars. Herget going across, and he beats Porter in the back line. Point for the Cougars.
Can't give up free balls. Both these teams have been on fire offensively. You cannot allow any sort of way to get into system that easily.
Cottle serving. Just got it over the tape. Big swing, Wagner. Good dig, Herget. A little helter-skelter over on the BYU side, but they still manage. Rotman dug it out. Wagner over by us.
RIP to your iPad. That one went flying as the ball went there.
Yeah, that'll be a workers' comp ticket filed by my iPad on Monday morning.
You heard it live, folks.
Oh, point Stanford. McFall now back to serve. 11 serving 13. In this very tightly contested third set. Herget setting it up, back line, old Danny. You see again, Carrera just hanging in the air. And there's the block for the Cardinal.
Man, the adjustment to bring Tyler Herget into the game late has paid so much for the Cougars. He's come in and he's just added that extra layer, a different look, and especially with Tafunga still on the sidelines right now, he has been a big piece.
And correction there, that was Herget on the kill. And when it bounced down, it rolled back over to BYU side. That one is going to be a kill for Stanford, as that is Carrera right there in the middle. Once again, he's flashing that very patented smile of his, if you will, in that middle.
Now, 100%. At one side, you got a guy going low dog, just, and the other side just said, hey, you can do it both ways.
That's chill, so happy. Just, it's one of those things, too, you know, you hear it so many times. I know some teammates that I played with in football, they have the whole kill 'em with kindness mindset. And Carrera, it's kindness with the smile, but then it's ferocity with the swing.
And it's Porter with the dig.
A phenomenal dig by Porter. Big swing, Robin back line. He wanted a touch and won't get it, so it'll be a point for BYU.
Yeah, it's really hard to angle those shots from the back line. When you have an opportunity at the pin, the proximity is so close, you have a much better chance to collect some fingers on the way out. But when you're jumping, exploding, you kind of have to go with power. It's hard to go finesse there.
It's kind of you're kind of fishing at that point. As the receive goes out of bounds on the overpass, another point for BYU as they get the ace.
Service ace there. It was a matter of time for Trevor Herget. With Tafunga out, he had been another guy who has just put so much pressure on that serve receive.
Swing and a drive.
And it's out of the park, folks. A home run ball.
Yeah, I think that'll be a service error. One point goes to Stanford.
No runs scored here on the homer.
It'll be Nate Clinton now serving for Stanford. And it's one of their big-time guys. He can rattle off a couple points in a row. A good receive for BYU, and there's that middle attack that we saw a good bit of last night, but this time it's Gavin Chambers on the end of it.
Yeah, McFall has been the guy who has been making great reads right there in the middle when you've gone up with your quick attack with the middles. Carrera, when he's on that front line in that spot, he's doing a good job with the collective block, but that one-on-one a little bit different as we finally get to see Tafunga back in here.
A good sign for BYU. Obviously, always good to see everyone as healthy as possible. Tafunga, good serve. There's the middle. Carrera deflects out of bounds. Point Stanford.
You know what they say, right? You start talking smack, and all of a sudden they answer. A great answer there by Carrera. He's rewarded with his efforts to go back and serve.
14-17.
Eric Ask has come in as well, so some more size on that front line with the 6'9" freshman.
This is where, about that point in the match yesterday as well, you saw John Cossey go to that change. Here's Rotman, no. BYU coming the other way. Big swing. Was there a touch up front? No.
We're going to see a challenge.
Not. And yes, we will. Well, that's happening.
Behind every great event is a team of people putting the team on their back, though.
And it's like we said, you have it with the production side, and you have it even just with the setup of Maples. Again,
yeah, the fan up side.
You're going to have so much going on here in this arena over the span of the next couple of weeks potentially.
And so BYU winning that point, trusting, going with their gut, and it pays off.
And going to Luke McFall pays off for Stanford.
Theron Briette in as the setter in this situation after the timeout, and that connection between Briette and McFall has been developed, tried and true over time. McFall, the redshirt junior, Briette, the senior. They've got a lot of time on the hardwood here at Maples playing together.
And now you see him go back off talking about Briette. As Jacob Little Phillips comes on, saw Moses Wagner back on as well. And Cottle got a little too excited and got that off the outside part of his hand.
And that is the pressure of the serve receive from
As Alex Rotman's leading the way for Stanford with 10 kills.
Yeah, he has been just laser focused.
Good serve from Little Phillips. Cottle in the middle, good dig. It's going to go over and out of bounds.
The coverage was there, but just the power to send it right back by Cottle. Slim Reaper a little like there.
That's what I'm saying. I was talking about this a little earlier. You see just all limbs from A.J. Cottle. It reminds me a lot of Kevin Durant and how he looks. You get a chance to watch him up in person.
Great gauge, great read. And now Luke Morrison, an opportunity to come in. A little bit of a different look. He has a lot of pressure, but the lefty, just expect the ball to kind of float a little bit and then hit that hard curve.
It's one of those things, you hear it a lot in baseball too, right? In terms of with that different approach, different angle, it feels like it's moving, even though it's just a normal swing.
And then how about the dig, yeah.
And then they get the point off of it with Nate Clinton.
What a job, freshman. Coming in, Coach Costi before the season was talking about that heavy jump serve and his work ethic on display as well, getting under it, sending it away with that dig and earning another point for Stanford.
Another good serve, overpass, point Stanford McFall. So you talked about it, it's a different look, a different angle and approach coming off the left hand, and you see BYU struggling with it here.
Stanford has dominated serving in this series so far, and it continues with every person they put on the back line.
Just getting over the tape, and BYU, here they come, Herget. Dug out by Stanford, and there is a cross-court winner, Moses Wagner. And all of a sudden, you look up at the scoreboard, and Stanford's in front.
Man, it's almost like you hear the bells ringing right there. You get saved by the bell after you get rocked, and now can you continue to come back? You've been punched in the face. A great service run here by Luke Morrison.
Great call here by John Costi as well. There's a block. Moses Wagner, you.
Defense translating into offense.
And just going a little too far. And there's the timeout, the end of the service run by Luke Morrison, but boy, was it a good one.
Man, those timeouts are like the boogeyman. They're creeping over your shoulder, chasing you down.
20 serving 21. Tennyson Lighthall now serves for BYU. Porter receives it as they set up once again Moses Wagner. It had been mostly Alex Rotman carrying that offensive load, and now here comes Wagner picking up right where he left off.
That's tape on display right there. They bring Lighthall into the position because in that set right there, or in that spot, Fife would be technically the one to serve. So no libero in the lineup, nobody to catch that ball.
Not a good receive there from BYU. They're really not going to have a chance to do anything here. Free ball coming for Stanford. And they'll set up Wagner again, taking advantage of the BYU mistake.
Man, so many photos sent out, the flashing lights blinding everybody, and this pace and pressure that Stanford has been putting on, absolutely blinding BYU.
McFall serving, 23 serving 20. And there's Fife now back in. Herget, good effort trying to chase it down by Rotman, but he couldn't get there. Big point there for the Cougars.
Biggest difference there, not too much pressure on the serve right there for McFall, an ability to get within system, and brother to brother, that connection has worked.
Who needs Tia and Tamara Mowry when you have Tyler and Trevor Herget?
You know, and their other two brothers and their dad that played at BYU,
go,
exactly. And their whole lineage.
Wagner just tried to keep that one alive. The pass went a little errant and couldn't do so. And BYU puts it now a point closer. It's a 1 point difference, 22 serving 23.
Yeah, Moses Wagner leading the team in kills as he's really picked up the pace, but just a little moment of hesitation resulting in that point. BYU right back in things.
Well, Dandy serves. Carrera, good dig by Fife. Herget, no, there's Porter. Now the other side, Clinton, point Stanford.
Yeah, Clinton goes up as the shoulder hitter, and he has to really generate a lot of force with that shoulder cocking back and swinging through. And the block was there. He read it perfectly, and it's set point here in the third for Stanford.
Naples Pavilion on its feet. Stanford with the set point. Wagner serves. Overpass, Clinton. Point, set, Stanford. What a turnaround by the Cardinal.
Lineups going into this point in the season, when you get into the meat of your schedule here against top 10 ranked teams back-to-back weeks, this is the difference. Kamana Carrera a little bit soft on the serve, an error there. And finishing off one more point before we get back into the action here. Service pressure has been immense. Let's see if Tyler Herget can put on some of that pressure, because Stanford has been living in system.
Yeah, again, we talked about how big that was regarding service pressure for Stanford, and how about that who needs service pressure, we can get a service ace. Again, put that one under athletes make broadcasters look good.
How you like the headband look, by the way?
I like it. I don't have the hair for it, but I like it. 2-0 BYU early in the fourth. Wagner dug out by Herget. And the Stanford defense was there, but it goes out of bounds. This is exactly the start that you needed for this fourth set if you're BYU.
In system, starts with the pressure, not allowing Stanford to get any really good looks. And then when you send it over with a not clean look, BYU is going to start to get some momentum back.
Tyler Herget will continue his serve. Stanford McFall, no, Cottle was there. Another point for BYU.
Stanford was there defensively, just drifting a little bit too far into the net, was little Phillips in that situation. The reads are there. It's a matter of just staying clean and not making any dumb errors.
Execution, execution, execution. And that's exactly what BYU's doing here to start off set number 4. Rotman finds room in the middle to end the scoring run for BYU.
Yeah, a huge 4-0 run, one of the longest of the match so far. And that's a really big moment. In that back line, Tyler Herget is like another libero. We've talked about it before, so they're so stout defensively here, going a little tricky instead of showing off that power.
Little Phillips on the serve. Mosier, good dig, Little Phillips. That's going to go over onto the overpass, and Mosier's there to make Stanford pay.
Can't let Mosier get going. When he gets going, the team starts going, the crowd starts going.
It's one thing to point it out, again, just the actual stat engine that he is. But I think he's that emotional engine for this BYU team as well. Goes a little too far, though, on that serve.
Yeah, that's the main problem he's had in this match. It's just service errors. He puts too much under it, and sometimes when you're so jacked up, it's hard to keep it in play.
Now Alex Rotman serving. Stanford looking up, already in a 3-point hole to start off this set. And try to do whatever they can to avoid a 5th set in this one. Rotman, good effort on the dig attempt, but can't keep it in play. Another point for the Cougars.
Trevor Herget, the freshman out of Connecticut, continues to show why he was an All-American coming out of high school. You saw some great performances, 11 kills against Menlo, and he's having one of his best performances on a huge stage.
That one's going to find the hardwood. Moses Wagner gets another kill.
Going back to your bread and butter.
You can just feel it right now. BYU, they started to steal that momentum and energy that Stanford had. Did a good job of developing in that 3rd set. Can they find a way to get it back? Fall. Handled by Mosier, the middle. No, it's dug out by the Stanford defense. Clinton, a little bit of a miscommunication. That's going to set up BYU. Herget, big swing point for the Cougars.
You know, I know one of them is older than the other, but when you take a quick look at a glance, I got to look at the headband. They look so similar. 1 inch higher is the outside hitter, Trevor Herget, standing at 6'3".
It's either you go shoes or you go headband.
I'm a headband guy.
I tend to agree with you on that one. Wagner finding room right by Mosier in the back line.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And Moses Wagner absolutely showing off.
And we'll see what John Costi can draw up here. Starting to go a little bit of back and forth. BYU will gladly take that right now. We saw the switch up he had that last set to get some momentum for Stanford. What will it be here? Rotman from the back line, snuffed out by BYU. They go to Herget. It was deflected up front, and Wagner did everything he could to keep it alive, but couldn't do so.
Yeah, a lot of effort, a lot of heart shown, but not much to show for in that situation. You saw the clean touch in that front line. You knew you had to make a big play on it.
Now the Herget brothers trying to flex their muscle here in this last set, but as soon as that comes to mind, Trevor puts it into the net.
And something I want to talk about as well, a very unique situation with BYU where they send their athletes out on missions, or they don't send them out, but they come back from missions. So yes, Trevor Herget is a freshman, but he had served 2 years on a mission before coming back, so not your typical 18-year-old green freshman.
Yeah, a lot of times you'll see that BYU athletics, even though you're a freshman to Max's point, you might come back as you start off your eligibility, you're 20 years old. It's a little bit more physically defined and developed.
With Gavin Chambers down the back line, let's see if Stanford can get a clean look and set up their offense.
Rotman towards the back line. Went down on that swing, able to get up. That goes off the antenna, and it'll be a point for Stanford.
So in that situation, Mosier has been wanting to go cross court the entire match. The defense shifts over ever so slightly. You had two blockers right in front of him taking off that situation, but they pushed him so close to the pin that it goes straight into the antenna. No room for that line shot.
6 serving 9. Carrera floats it over. Second hit coming over for BYU. Stanford was ready for it. Rotman, point Stanford.
Block was there, but Rotman sees them going up at the same time. And that is where he has had success. It's not necessarily with the power. It's with his eyes, with his brain.
So much fun. I know I talked about it some last night, watching Alex Rotman. Again, had the privilege of watching his brother Will for all those years here at Stanford. And it's just interesting that the emotional buildup of the two brothers as this is going to be a kill as Wagner couldn't control it. But you know, Will he would put his emotions on his sleeve, right? When he was pumped up, wired up, you could see it, sense it, feel it. Obviously, he would talk with the officials every once in a while. And a lot of times you see Alex, he's out here smiling on his face. He'll give you a look sometimes if you're on the other team, but just so interesting how the two brothers, two different build-ups. Back line, Wagner. I think he felt a little type of way after not getting that last dig.
He's the hardest on himself. And he has absolutely turned the page. Closing off your point there with the Rotman brothers, I feel like that's how it goes.
Yeah.
One brother's so extreme and the other one's completely on the other side. You know the common factor, though? Geniuses who can also play high-level volleyball.
Then that's where if you have a third middle sibling, how that all ties into it, I don't know. Overpass by BYU, but they did a good job defending it when Stanford was on the attack, but that block's going to go out of bounds. Another point for Stanford. A big one for them because here they are scrapping right back into it. It's just a 1-point difference right now.
Yeah, that forward run to start for BYU felt immense in that situation. So you look back at the board and Stanford's right back in it.
Herget, back line. Trevor once again.
He's up to 9 kills on the match. Only came in with 79 total kills. High percentages, hitting 353 coming into the weekend. This is a team that continues to develop as we see them right in front of us in BYU.
Moses Wagner once again, a little tightrope action.
Yeah, just walking down that line. The block was there, and somehow he found a way to get it off the block, ricochet down the line, and find the point. And even his walkout music is chill.
No question, that's a good point. Yeah, we're in this high-stress environment. And we've had good energy from both teams, both crowds that are here. Beach volleyball teams back in here once again, just like last night. And there's the big ace, Alex Rotman. Maybe that's why he is so calm and cool and collected.
Yeah, the men's volleyball team showing out for Beach, and now Beach showing out for men's. We love to see the sense of community here.
That's always kind of been the theme around Stanford and the different teams. The athletes all support each other. Of course, you usually will get that in a school where about 1 in every 6 students in undergrad is going to be an athlete. They'll have a big support system around each other. Wagner tried to go soft. It's going to be called a double hit. Point for BYU.
Throwing up those deuces, and that's the only time you don't want to see the peace sign.
Either that or back in the day when Tyreek Hill was running away from you.
I am a Raiders fan, so unfortunately, yes.
I'm sorry.
I remember that game at the Coliseum.
Cottle on the serve, McFall in the middle. Rushed it a bit, got some of the net. Good dig. Stanford couldn't keep it alive. Good effort. All around, started off by Jacob Little-Phillips, but it ends in a point for the Cougars.
Back and forth we go. Thought BYU was going to put a little more pressure right there after getting off to that 4-0 start. Now can Stanford get an answer with Cottle serving?
Wagner. Herget in that back line, trying to set it up. And they do. You see it right there. Evan Porter was moving over, trying to get ready. And a good job there, good recognition by Connor Oldani, seeing that open spot and taking advantage.
Oldani now with 8 kills, hitting .292. He is, on paper, the leader in team in kills, but it's been a group combined effort for BYU here.
McFall, see that quick attack and gets it down on the hands as BYU was trying to rise to get to the block, and it goes out of the way. Point for Stanford.
You go first tempo there, a perfect pass, and it just gives an opportunity mid-swing by the time the ball goes there, and there's no stopping it.
They're getting a little sweat spot from behind the BYU side of the floor right now. 12 serving 14. We already saw the big BYU run. The question now is if Stanford has one of their own in the back pocket. Won't be here as that goes a little too far. Good read.
I went home last night. I just had Whitney blast in my head, Saving All My Love for You, and I was wondering, man, why is this song here? I think they were playing Whitney right here, and it just subconsciously seeped into my soul.
Carrera trying to find a way to seep into the defense of BYU and find some room out of the media timeouts. Point for Stanford. Good for them to get that first one out the timeout.
Man, Kamana Carrera went up with a smile after the play, but I was giving that stank face, a little bit of the bather right there.
You put a little something on that one. Briette back in serving. Good low serve. Owen wide. Stanford was there for it. Rotman, no. But Stanford will reset. That one a little too far in the overpass, but Stanford gives another chance. Look at this defense right now from BYU. Stanford trying to recycle it again, and Clinton goes a little too far.
A little chess match being played in the rotation here. Now when Briette comes to the back line, Eric Ask comes in as well. Puts a little bit more size here. You don't need 2 setters with Little Phillips and Briette in there, so you throw Ask into that front line. A great job going back and forth there, but Stanford unable to collect after that.
And now Trevor Herget. And there's the overpass. Good reaction by Carrera, though, to keep it alive for Stanford. BYU have a chance at it. Mosier, look at the defense. Clinton and Carrera.
Don't forget about Wolf. Wolf was pinned there in the triple block right there as well, and it was part of the reason why you have that size. You throw 6'9" to that front line, and it changes it up. You can't go line, or you can't go cross court, so you try to go line, and it pays off, and they're going to keep this rotation on the floor.
What a serve by Clinton. Nate Clinton bringing the thunder on the service ace.
Lightning and the thunder A really good job just trying to get there by Mosier, but man, when Clinton is on, his stuff is dirty.
And there was nothing that Mosier could do about it.
Oh, just stepped on that line.
Yep.
Once again, this is only Clinton's 5th match played of the season. These are the little mistakes you try to get out of the way early on. But unfortunately, due to health reasons, he hasn't been able to.
Well, and that's the thing. You see the promise that there. It just tantalizes you. And again, those are things that will get worked out over time.
Oh, it's enticing indeed.
Speaking of good servers to Funga. Rotman, he's the one that with the receive. That's going to go towards the front row. Good hustle to Funga, but it goes outside of the antenna, point Stanford.
And it's really impressive to see the way that Stanford has been able to adjust on the fly right here. You put Briette into the situation, you replace Little Phillips. They have a very different style of setting, but Stanford has not blinked an eye. They've gone right back into it. Part of the reason why you have that calm, collected senior right there with it.
Carrera sends it over. BYU goes to Mosier. Good job defensively by Stanford. Now Rotman goes with the lead hand. And there's the block. Luke McFall was right there in the middle of it. Rotman was there too. We are even at 17.
McFall bringing the wall. Needed some help from Rotman to keep him up, man. He was just flexing. Almost gave out on him.
Yeah, Rotman with the big hug for him. Carrera again. What a great match this has been.
Electric.
Oh, Danny Carrera could not dig that one up, keep it alive as it goes about 7 rows up in the Maples bleachers.
And that is where you want to attack. You want to attack the middle blocker on the back line because Porter's not in on that rotation with Carrera serving. So heads up play alongside the physical capability to get it there.
Tyler Herget serves. Good serve from him. Clinton trying to set it up on the other side. Ask, and the defense for BYU was there. Caudle alongside Mosier, I believe, for the Cougars.
Yeah, and Ask being inserted here, hasn't played too much, has been put in this rotation right now, but at the same time, just a young freshman just trying to get his feet under him. And you'd see Coach Costa using the timeout here as Stanford drops back behind by 2.
You're still looking for one of those big-time top 10 wins. You haven't been able to do it up until last night. So you want to continue that momentum going in this win streak that they've had. And, of course, for BYU, one is staying inside that top 10. You want to get that win against Stanford as well.
Huge moment here.
That's a big-time volleyball being played in the last 2 days in Naples. As that's going to go out of bounds. Rotman, he won't get the touch appeal.
Yeah, Rotman under 300 now with that attack. But in this set with Tyler Herget, this is where BYU found that success and that pressure on the first points scored. Now we're going to see the rotation with Wagner coming back, and in the front line, Little Phillips will check in again.
Here's Stanford back line, Wagner. BYU out of system. And Stanford now gets the load up. Wagner again.
X's and O's. And then you know the best part about that? When you get your Jimmies and Joes involved and it all comes together in a beautiful mesh.
2 points the difference. Jacob Little Phillips back to serve. Received by Fife. And there's the block up front. Knew it landed on this side. And Mosier once again doing what he does best. Defeats the two-person wall for Stanford.
And it's all about that initial setup by Herget. Usually you don't want your setter as the person to receive it, but with his ability, he just gets such a soft touch on that initial receive, and that anybody else can go out there and set you up on a plate.
And we saw this change happen earlier in that third set for Stanford. We're going to see it again here. Stanford needs a little bit of a run. Insert number 16, Luke Morrison, back to serve.
Heavy lefty.
This is is when Stanford got on that big run, and they do it again. Let's serve. It goes down for an ace. Morrison again on the serve. This time received well by BYU, and they will deposit the point.
The curse continues. I mean, a great pressure put on it by Luke Morrison as he'll check back out, but just a better job with the soft touch, being able to set up your offense within system and hit that pay dirt.
Well, Stanford makes their changes. Now BYU will do the same. Cole Hauser coming in. Wagner, doesn't matter to him.
Yeah. He's having one of the best weekends I've seen for a Cardinal athlete in quite a while. 19 kills paired up against that performance yesterday where he put up 20 in his own regard.
As that was a team high in a match on the year for Stanford. He might be breaking that once again here tonight. See how this unfolds as McFall on the serve. Almost an over pass, but BYU keeps control of it. They go again. Now Stanford will set things up. A little bit of a miscommunication there. Almost a free ball pretty much for BYU. Good back and forth. It's good back and forth, but it also is a lot of helter-skelter till Herget is going to get the big swing and the kill. Trevor Herget putting it into things.
The rallies have gone the way of BYU, cleaning up a wet spot on the floor after the valiant effort his Kamana Carrera. But we've been seeing some terrific rallies this weekend.
Cougar fans coming alive.
Can't let the away team put their mark on it here in.
Next, during that time, I was just going back over the roster. There are 4 players from BYU that are from the state of California, but they're all from Southern California. So it's not like this is a straight up true homecoming for some of these guys. This truly is a big travel trip for all the BYU fans here.
BYU faithful travel strong, and they travel with their whole families. You see a lot of young kids in the crowd, and they're having a lot of fun with a ton of smile on their faces.
Oh, Danny on the serve. Herrera, handled though by Fife. Backline Mosier. The BYU will recycle it again. Now Stanford's going to have a chance. Wagner sent back. Gavin Chambers was in the middle of it.
Right idea, but the execution was a little bit different. Wagner tried to tool off the block again, but he couldn't get out of the way. No matrix bullet time for him.
Set point for the Cougars. All their fans on their feet. And that just missed. It actually looked like our back referee here, he was going to put that flag down and say that it was an ace and last minute put it up.
That line judge double clutched it.
Yes, he did.
Got everybody on their toes. BYU fans on their feet. And, of course, the chess match of taking that timeout, not giving.
From either side, so that tells you how well this game's been officiated. Wagner. Fife on the receive. Far side. There's Trevor Herget. And BYU sending this to set.
Taking on #1 ranked UCLA coming up. You got to get out of this situation first. And with the service error to start by Old Danny, this is similar to what we saw late in the fourth as to the reason why Stanford took that fourth. The service errors start to break down, and it was like a wall of Jenga at the end of the day.
Ball on the serve. That just missed in that back corner.
How much do you think it's just the nerves in this situation?
Oh, yeah.
Both teams have been to 5 sets. Stanford 1-2 in those situations. BYU 0-2 on the season.
It's the nerves, and it's also part of that one just from a very long physical match. It's also, again, a lot of really good energy that's gone on in here as another one goes into the net. This one from Trevor Herget. I mean, we talked about before, BYU is used to being in raucous crowds and environments. They have one of the best ones in college volleyball, and their home gym being Smith Fieldhouse. But it's a little different feel, though, when it comes on the road.
Yeah, I think the first point is going to carry so much momentum right now, or the first true point, I should say.
And there you have it. So we'll see if your hypothesis runs true as Moser gets the point and the kill for BYU.
See, I was expecting the fans to go absolutely wild in that situation, so maybe not.
They're saving it for those final couple of points. Gavin Chambers. Carrera. Well, we talked about, we see the middle being used, and there's Carrera right there.
That's called willing it into existence. I was trying to scream to see if they could hear me on that other side. It looks like one side answered the call. Let's see if the other goes right back into it.
3 serving 2 now for the Cardinal. Nate Clinton had a nasty serve his last time up. Tried to go back to a similar spot. His old Danny good dig by Wagner. Rotman joust at the net, and the victor will be Trent Moser.
Moser needs to go dye that hair blonde, man. The way he's flexing, the way he's screaming, he is going Super Saiyan.
Well, it's been a Super Saiyan effort for him tonight, that is for sure. 21 kills for him on the night. And the way he's been playing, more to come. Moses Wagner, point Stanford.
So you split the C on one side and you go Super Saiyan to the other. They have been leading the charge. Wagner up to 20 kills in consecutive nights against a top-ranked BYU team.
Goku and Vegeta going back at it with each other. Here's Carrera. In the middle, what a dig, Carrera, but Stanford couldn't do anything else with it.
And guess what it was?
A
middle attack.
A.J. Cottle hadn't really called his name much in a minute, but showing up when it matters.
Moser's had a really tough time from the line tonight. This is one of the points that has hurt him.
Sends it over here. And in the middle, once again, Luke McFall. Max, have you been in both of these huddles during that break?
When your back's against the wall, what do you want to do? You want to go to your middle, you want to go to your highest percentage attack, and that's exactly what we saw.
No, when my back's against the wall, I'm listening to what Max tells me to do. That's what I'm picking up from all of this.
We know ball.
Little Phillips on the serve, good serve. And you saw Trevor Herget really come alive in that last set. And there's Rotman putting it over and feeding old Danny for the point.
Rotman was our leader early. He had 8 kills very early on in the match, but they kind of went away from him here. At a moment where you need 8 point, what do? You go right back to your breath of fresh air.
First time that we've really seen any separation in this final set. 2-point lead now for Stanford. Little Phillips again on the serve. Almost an overpass, and there we go, point for Stanford.
In disbelief is Tyler Herget.
One thing I noticed as well, Evan Porter was one of the vocal ones during that timeout, pumping everybody up. And then soaring and floating in the air, Trevor Herget, who has really come alive in these last 2 sets for BYU.
Curse of the timeout, and the Trevor Herget show continues. 8 kills in that last set, coming out and putting a missile down to the dirt.
Now A.J. Cottle serves. Wagner, that's made its way over. Good reaction by Stanford. And it's going to be a 4th hit. That is just an unfortunate sequence of events there for Stanford.
You had the look, but the miscommunication from the freshman setter. These are the moments you know the talent that Little Phillips has on display, but it's getting everybody involved with the pace and tempo that he plays at. In that situation, McFall got in the way.
Cottle again gets over the tape. In the middle, McFall.
Right there, they get him right back. McFall gets into his bag.
Like the fries are at the bottom as we switch sides. It's 8 serving 6 right now in favor of Stanford.
You know what's funny? I've never actually worked a match where you switch sides. Oh, as the home crowd gets a roaring. Man, Maples is picking up. I've never had the timeout in that beginning half before they switch sides. Usually everything's very close and you switch sides. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps as well, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, yeah, the Stanford team, as they go over, they're getting the crowd into it. So BYU responds and gets their crowd going. This is what it's all about right here.
Come on, Stanford fans, we need you to respond. Huge moment here for Luke Morrison.
Yeah, John Cossey can tell he's going for it right now, putting Luke Morrison back in.
Stanford throwing some flush balls in the crowd as well.
Off the tape. In the middle, once again, Gavin Chambers.
And the bench is alive. That roar from BYU reinvigorated them. A full send dive by the liberos in celebration.
Yeah, all BYU's missing now is Cosmo. Of course, that very talented mascot that BYU always has with the dance teams.
The strongest one in the league.
Without a doubt. There's a big swing. Strong one from Nate Clinton. And then go the flush balls into the crowd. Stanford getting ever so closer.
Luke McFall. He's had some great aces this weekend. What a spot it would be if he can pin one in now.
Into the net.
Sorry. That's on me.
You just couldn't help yourself.
That's on me, coach. That's on me.
And now Trevor Herget on the serve. Talked about the mission trips earlier. I know a lot of BYU athletes sometimes will go out of the country. He actually went to Idaho to serve his. As that one was almost served to Moscow. It goes a little too far. Point Stanford.
That's the trend. They got loose for a second with the cheer, their crowd, but now everything tightens up once again. You'll go point for point here with the 2-point advantage for Stanford.
No question. Wagner. Here's BYU back line. Carrera was right there for it.
Yeah, that one didn't even cross the net. Carrera had a great read. Stanford is playing with no setter here.
Who needs a setter when you can have an ace?
Big brain moves from John Costi.
That Stanford's had this year have been leading up to this moment, to this weekend. They're trying to get both of these wins against number 7 BYU.
Let's see if maybe they use Clinton or Rotman as that libero.
Off
and
the
have
tape.
Porter as, quote unquote, that setter here.
Get a point for BYU. That's a big answer for them out of the timeout.
Yeah, as I think about it a little more, I think they're just going full defense in that situation, and unfortunately that line shot was perfect there by Trent Mosier.
22 kills for him now. Tafunga back in for BYU. Time for him to serve. Rotman on the receive. Carrera! Point Stanford.
No timeouts left. Stanford, if they can get a point here, Clinton might send us into the sunset here as the land of the rising sun roars through Maples once again.
Not very many more people you want serving in a moment like this too than Nate Clinton. But I think he got a foot fault there. Kind of put that ball up a little too far out in front of him.
Second one of the match, and this one could not have been in a bigger moment. Now you have your best defensive setup for BYU with Tyler Herget serving. And you know, it just so happens that you have 3 attackers up front on top of that.
Good serve, Clinton receive. Wagner. Of course it's him. Why not? Maples rises as one as it is set and match point for the Cardinal. Carrera to serve. BYU we go, Moser. There's no touch. That goes out of bounds, and that'll do it. Stanford with the weekend sweep of BYU as they take this one 3-2.
Công nhận thằng chân chưa giỏi gì. Mình đâu nguyên một bụng luôn hả? Mình mà ăn 2 phút 30 giây. Làm gì vậy? Ăn trái lâu quá. Ăn 2 trái luôn chứ. 2 trái luôn hả? Ui. Trái thật lỗi. Trái sao đủ. Đừng nói là uống luôn nha. Uống bình thường à. Wow. Chọn thiệt.
Giờ là những bữa dòng năm tháng cùng em gồng gánh.
Khoảnh khắc lịch sử, tàu Orion xuyên khí quyển với tốc độ 41.000 km/h hạ cánh thành công. 4 phi hành gia trở về an toàn. Tàu Orion chạy theo 4 phi hành gia của sứ mệnh Artemis 2 vừa đáp xuống Thái Bình Dương, đáp lại hành trình kéo dài 10 ngày từ trái đất đến bay xung quanh mặt trăng rồi trở về. Ngay trước khi tiếp xúc khí quyển, tàu đạt vận tốc cực đại khoảng 41.000 km/h. Được biết trong quá trình tái nhận, trung tâm điều khiển mất liên lạc với tàu trong khoảng 6 phút do lớp plasma hình thành xung quanh Orion. Sau khi quay trở lại khí quyển, tàu vũ trụ Orion trải qua giai đoạn nóng lên cực độ, nhiệt độ có thể lên tới khoảng 2.270 độ C. Trong thời gian này, phi hành đoàn Artemis 2 ước tính đã di chuyển quãng đường 1.117.659 km trong toàn bộ hành trình vòng quanh trái đất và mặt trăng. Tổng thời gian bay ước tính là 9 ngày 1 giờ và 31 phút. Thành công của chuyến bay sẽ mở đường cho các bước tiếp theo trong chương trình chinh phục mặt trăng của NASA. Khoảnh khắc lịch sử, tàu Orion xuyên khí quyển với tốc độ 41.000 km/h hạ cánh thành công. 4 phi hành gia trở về an toàn. Tàu Orion chở theo 4 phi hành gia của sứ mệnh Artemis 2.
25 tỷ đồng để trải nghiệm một cái chết dữ dội. Đây là câu chuyện có thật đã gây chấn động thế giới vào năm 2023, khi 5 tỷ phú bước lên tàu lặn Titan để lặn xuống độ sâu khoảng 3.800 mét dưới đáy đại dương nhằm ngắm sát tàu Titanic. Nhưng ngay khi gần đến điểm đích, con tàu đã bị nghiền nát tức thì trong một vụ nổ sầm kinh hoàng. Điều khiến thảm kịch này trở nên ám ảnh là tốc độ khủng khiếp của nó. Ở độ sâu gần 4.000 mét, áp suất nước lớn gấp khoảng 400 lần so với trên bề mặt. Và khi lớp vỏ sợi carbon bị nứt, áp lực khổng lồ đó đã ập vào bên trong với vận tốc cực lớn. Mắt người cần khoảng 13 ms để truyền tín hiệu hình ảnh đến não, còn não cần ít nhất 100 ms để nhận biết và phản ứng với tín hiệu đau từ các dây thần kinh. Thế nhưng toàn bộ quá trình con tàu Titan bị nghiền nát diễn ra trong chưa đầy 1 ms. Vụ sập diễn ra nhanh đến mức trước khi bất kỳ tế bào thần kinh nào kịp gửi tín hiệu đau đến não, và trước khi mắt có thể kịp nhận ra sự biến dạng của thân tàu, cơ thể của những người bên trong đã bị phá hủy hoàn toàn. Bỏ ra khoảng 6,25 tỷ đồng để trải nghiệm một cái chết dữ dội. Đây là câu chuyện có thật.
Đấy nó gọi là chế độ 3D.
Tháng ngày đồng hoàn thành công việc rất tốt nhé. Đây là lương của cậu này. Em cảm ơn sếp. Kim mới vào làm chưa quen với công việc nhé. Lương em đây. Cố gắng nha Kim. Vâng, em cảm ơn sếp ạ. Tuy cậu mới vô, nhưng những gì mà tôi chỉ đạo cậu rất tiếp thu và nỗ lực. Phần của tôi chia thêm cho cậu. Cậu phải cố gắng hơn nữa. Cậu làm được không? Dạ, em cảm ơn thầy ạ. Tất cả những gì em làm đều nghe lời thầy dặn hết ạ. Cũng nhờ thầy tác động mà em mới hoàn thành tốt được cái công việc của tháng này. Em cảm ơn thầy rất nhiều. Đây là lương của cậu nha. Dạ em cảm ơn sếp. Kim tháng này hoàn thành công việc tốt hơn nhé. Lương Kim ấy. Dạ, cố gắng tiếp nha. Cảm ơn sếp ạ. Tháng này tôi thấy cậu nỗ lực hơn rất nhiều rồi đó. Dạ. Đây là số tiền. Cậu xứng đáng nhận nó. Vì không có cậu, tôi cũng chả nhận được số tiền như vậy đâu. Cậu cố gắng phát huy thêm nha. Dạ, em cảm ơn thầy ạ. Em chỉ ước một ngày nào đó em được như thầy thôi thầy. Cậu sắp làm được rồi. Dạ. Tôi tin tưởng cậu đó. Dạ. Tháng này Kim làm việc cực kỳ tốt nha. Dạ. Kim mới vào làm có mấy tháng mà doanh số công ty tăng trưởng rất nhanh nhé. Kim đúng là một nhân tài. Dạ, em cảm ơn sếp ạ. Cố gắng nha Kim. Dạ. Đây là lương của đồng này. Tôi thất vọng về cậu lắm ấy. Không hiểu sao cậu là một nhân viên kỳ cựu của công ty mà trong tháng này lại không mang lại một hợp đồng nào hết. Sao vậy Đồng? Dạ, em xin lỗi sếp ạ. Tháng này do em mất tập trung. Có khi nào hợp đồng đó đưa cho Kim không? Dạ không sếp ạ. Sếp cho em về kiểm điểm lại. Tháng sau em sẽ tập trung hơn và cố gắng nỗ lực hơn để bù lại kết quả cho tháng này nha sếp. Em xin lỗi sếp, chân thành xin lỗi sếp ạ. Còn về vấn đề của Kim là do năng lực của bạn ấy. Đúng rồi đó sếp. Thành quả tháng này, những cái hợp đồng thành công tháng này là do năng lực thực sự của em đó sếp. Em đã cố gắng không ngừng nghỉ để có được như ngày hôm nay. Mà thầy ơi, em thấy dạo này thầy làm việc mất tập trung rồi đấy. Tuy thầy là người dẫn dắt em, đưa em vào trong cái công việc này và chỉ bảo em, nhưng em không đánh giá cao những người không nghiêm túc và không có năng lực trong công việc. Lương của Đồng đây. Em cảm ơn sếp. Đây mới đúng là năng lực làm việc của Đồng á. Kim tháng này lương cơ bản thôi nhá. Tháng trước Kim kiếm rất là nhiều hợp đồng cho công ty mà tại sao tháng này không có đến một hợp đồng nào? Cậu giải thích đi.
Sếp ơi, tháng này em đã cố gắng rất nhiều rồi, mà em không hiểu là tại sao nó lại không hiệu quả nữa. Em cũng không biết lý do tại sao nữa sếp.
Không hiểu lý do à? Đây mới đúng là kết quả của bạn mang lại nè. Tháng trước, những hợp đồng của cậu tôi đều tạo ra cho cậu ở trên danh nghĩa khách hàng của tôi. Cậu không biết điều, cậu còn lấy ơn báo oán. Cậu nhân cơ hội tôi bị chỉ trích, cậu đi hạ bệ tôi. Cậu muốn chà đạp tôi xuống. Tôi đối xử với cậu rất tốt, cậu lại không biết điều. Đạo đức của cậu thật sự quá kém. Tôi có một học trò như cậu, thật sự tôi khá là mất mặt. Cậu phải nhìn về thực tại đi.
Công ty là không chấp nhận những người thiếu đạo đức chứ. Mai kia Kim thôi việc đi.
Lúc trước, những lần tôi hỗ trợ cho cậu, bây giờ cậu không còn xứng đáng nữa. Tôi xin lấy lại phần đó.
Tháng này đồng hoàn thành công việc rất tốt nhé. Đây là lương của cậu này.
Em cảm ơn sếp.
Kim mới vào làm chưa quen với công việc nhé. Lương Kim đây. Cố gắng nha Kim.
Vâng, em cảm ơn sếp ạ. Tuy cậu mới vô, nhưng những gì mà tôi chỉ bảo cậu, cậu rất tiếp thu và nỗ lực. Phần của tôi chia thêm cho cậu. Cậu phải cố gắng hơn nữa. Cậu làm được không?
Dạ, em cảm ơn thầy ạ. Tất cả những gì em làm đều nghe lời thầy dặn hết ạ. Cũng nhờ thầy tác động mà em mới hoàn thành tốt được cái công việc của tháng này. Em cảm ơn thầy rất nhiều. Đây là lương của cậu nha.
Dạ em cảm ơn sếp.
Kim tháng này hoàn thành công việc tốt hơn nhé. Lương Kim ấy. Dạ, cố gắng tiếp nha.
Sử dụng qua nhiều lần.
nhăn mặt luôn á. Nhậu ăn mắm tôm thì không ăn được không? Ăn hoài. Trời ơi, có ai ăn vậy đâu không? Ăn hoài á. Đâu ăn thử nào. Quỷ, ăn được luôn hả? Này, nhiều người không biết ăn á, họ nhăn mặt luôn à. Tại vì cái này khó ăn rồi, cầm mắm tôm nữa. Ngồi cả nhà.
Nó lớn như thế này, tầm bia đến 100 á. Đấy thì mình ấp.
Thịt luôn hả không? Ngon thì cả trơn. Quá đã. Rồi, tôi nhăn mặt luôn, tôi quay tôi còn không dám xem luôn mà. Ngọt ngọt thôi. Ngọt hả? Khai. Khai hả? Cay nữa. Rồi, có mấy trái xanh chứ gì luôn nè, đã vậy. Cái chín này nó ngon hơn hay sao không phải? Nó ngọt hơn. Hào ơi, nó bờ bay luôn. Ê, trời ơi, ngon nha. Tôi thấy bây giờ nắng dữ vậy ông ấy. Tôi thấy con nắng quá. Ông ấy. Tôi thấy con nắng quá. Tôi thấy bây giờ nắng dữ vậy ông ấy. Đúng rồi, ở đây là ông ở khu vực này là sao mùa này nó nắng chứ hả? Nắng cháy dao mà. Hay gì tôi thấy ông cũng không có chẳng nổi hả? Hay chắc là do nắng quá hay sao không? Sao nhổ ra anh chị? Con nước lắm. Wow. Wow, quá là ngon. Cái giờ ăn thử nha. Cái hạt nó không có nhai, đừng có nhai hạt. Thấy người ta dặn là đừng có nhai hạt mà ông nhai luôn hả? Nuốt này hả? Nuốt được nhưng mà không có nhai. Nhai nó đắng lắm. Không, nó không có đắng. Nó cay à. Cay giống như nước luôn. Ghê hả? Hay gì người ta ăn vô là nói luôn. Mà sao không ăn được cái này chứ? Quỷ. Wow. Thế à? Ôi wow.
Tham khảo cho em một cái bộ combo mà tấm pin năng lượng mặt trời hệ có độc lập nhé, dành cho các thiết bị 12V như là sạc nhất quy này, thắp bóng đèn, cả motor bơm nước nhé. Đây là cái combo mà tấm pin 250W 18V thì em đấu sẵn ra cho mình là một phần.
Để có cái mức giá 9 triệu cho cái tấn 6 kg thì bên mình phải bỏ qua tất cả các không gian nhập trực tiếp từ nhà máy, có thể nhập rất là nhiều hàng mới có được cái mức giá tốt này cho mọi người. Vì cái máy 9 triệu nó ở trong tháng 6 nên video này mình sẽ giới thiệu mọi người một cái mẫu máy cao cấp IP66 bảo vệ 10 năm, full phụ kiện lắp đặt, về là chỉ lắp, không cần mua thêm bất cứ phụ kiện gì cả. Để mà có được cái mức giá tốt thì bên mình cũng phải là ký độc quyền với hàng và mình cũng bảo hàng luôn tập đoàn bảo trì phân phối để khẳng định rằng ở Việt Nam mình sẽ bằng không thì mọi người nhìn thiết kế của nó này, nguyên khối và không hề có bất cứ cái tản nhiệt nào bằng quạt hết, tất cả là tản nhiệt bằng nhôm, không dùng quạt, dẫn đến là yên tĩnh 100%. Để ở phòng ngủ, phòng khách không bao giờ nghe bất kỳ cái tiếng động vó ve ồn ào nào hết, thì nó cực kỳ là cao cấp và yên tĩnh. Để có cái mức
Không hiểu sao suốt cả năm nay tôi luôn có cảm giác như có ai đó theo dõi mình. Càng ngày tôi càng thấy mệt mỏi, sức lực cứ yếu dần đi, như thể có thứ gì đó đang hút hết sinh khí của tôi.
Này bà lão, đừng quá lo sợ. Ta mang đến cho bà một bức tranh linh thiêng. Chỉ cần bà thành tâm hướng về Đức Phật. Pin bao nhiêu tiền với một cái con pin mà người bắt 37 vôn như thế này. Anh chị mình tăng thành ba của em sẽ là một thủ nhiệm bao nhiêu phần vốn nhá.
Con thấy lạ nha bố. Người lớn nói thương gia đình mà tối nào cũng dán mắt vô điện thoại. Chắc thương online nhiều hơn thương người trước mặt quá. Mai mốt con lớn chắc cũng bận lắm. Nên giờ bố dạy thì nói chuyện với con đi. Chứ đợi con im lặng rồi thì muốn nghe cũng không còn nữa đâu. Con thấy lạ nha bố.
ăn lên mà ăn cái gì mọi người cũng chửi hết. Ăn bình thường mọi người cũng chửi. Ăn mỡ heo vậy mọi người cũng chửi luôn nè. Ăn rau mà mọi người cũng chửi. Ăn quần què mọi người cũng chửi luôn á.
Đây là ăn cái gì cũng chửi hết hả?
Đúng rồi.
Thì bây giờ biết sao sống sao cho vừa lòng người. Bây giờ được em, bây giờ em chán nản thì vậy là em thất bại rồi. Em phải cố gắng chứ.
Không, sửa rồi, sửa nhiều lần rồi.
Nhưng mà em phải cố gắng nhiều hơn nữa để cho cô chú anh chị họ xem được, họ thấy được cái sự cố gắng của mình chứ. Bây giờ mình chưa đủ cố gắng thì họ chưa thấy được, em biết không? Em không thể nghĩ được. Vì đây là cũng là cái công việc em mà em yêu mến. Em đang làm phụ hồ.
Em có cái đam mê này mà.
Em phụ hồ để em đi làm cái này mà bây giờ em lại bỏ giữa chừng như vậy là em đã thất bại rồi. Em phải cố gắng nhiều hơn. Em biết không? Biết bao nhiêu người ta đang đến cố gắng gần đến đích rồi mà họ lại bỏ cuộc. Tại sao là không cố gắng một chút xíu nữa?
Không, mọi người chửi quá em chán rồi.
Đấy là em tính em muốn sao?
Em muốn nghỉ rồi.
Sao lại muốn nghỉ? Anh không muốn nghe em nói điều đó. Tại vì khi mà em nghĩ là em đã thất bại rồi. Bây giờ anh nói em thế này này. Em có nghĩ đi nữa, người ta vẫn chửi em. Em có làm gì đi nữa người ta đặt kệ ghét người thương là chuyện bình thường, em biết không?
Ăn gì mọi người cũng chửi. Em chịu rồi.
Món này món gì đấy? À món này món bò quay hả?
Bò heo cuốn á.
Da heo chứ.
Da heo.
Hả? Ồ, tôi ngã đồ. À hộp tọt ba. Đấy là cái này còn dư sao lại lấy đồ còn dư?
Hết tiền mua rồi.
Hôm nay không đi phụ hồi sao?
Ý là mua ứng người ta rồi. Mua cái món này này. Rồi hết luôn. Ăn rau gì cũng ăn rồi.
Cái gì cũng chửi hết hả? Thôi bây giờ mình mời cô chú anh chị ăn một miếng đi, mời đàng hoàng đi, cô chú anh chị thương à. Anh nói thiệt á.
Em đang cố gắng sửa từng ngày mà. Mời mọi người ăn. Đăng lên mà mọi người chửi mà em nghĩ thiệt á.
gì đấy? Ui, cái này mở xa mà đừng lắm. Con cái này nha. Bởi vì mở heo mà. Ui, chị con mở heo được mà.
Hô, hô, hô. Hô, 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 hô. Hô. Hô, hô. 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 Hô, hô.
Đứng đây làm gì đấy? Ui, cái này mở xa mà đừng nói ăn cái này nha. Bởi vì mở heo mà. Ui, đừng có. Mở heo được á. Đây, mời khán giả ăn miếng đầu tiên. Cảm ơn. Quá ngon kìa. Mở mà không ăn, ăn toàn hành toàn chanh không vậy? Khoái à, khoái ăn, không nghe ngon. Ui, mở hai nguyên bụng luôn hả? Wow. Ui dồi. Wow.
tôi. Giúp cho tôi được này được không?
Bạn à, tôi thấy hợp đồng của anh ấy và dự án của anh ấy làm rất là ok và rất là chi tiết. Nếu bạn hợp tác với anh ấy sẽ tốt cho cả hai bên, chứ không phải nghiêng về anh ấy đâu. Hợp đồng này tôi nghĩ bạn nên cân nhắc kỹ lại, đừng bỏ qua cơ hội này bạn nhé.
Nếu bạn đã đứng ra đảm bảo thì tôi nghĩ cái dự án này chắc chắn là sẽ là dự án win.
Cảm ơn bạn. Chúc mừng anh, hợp đồng của anh đã được ký tá thành công. Việc còn lại về sau sẽ là của anh. Cảm ơn bạn.
yêu đau ra cô có gian nhiều